Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
The truth shall set you free.
You can't handle the truth.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Hasta la vista, baby.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Hello and welcome back to the Creative Control Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Kenan, and thank you for joining us once again. It's been a bit of a while. I've taken a little bit of a sabbatical from the podcast. I went traveling with my other half for about 4 months and recorded a couple of episodes, which we dropped whilst I was away. But just time difference and everything, it was just almost impossible to do. Network connections weren't the best and stuff. So, but we're back. We're back. It feels good to be back. And joining me back from the team, we have Neil, Sal, Lee, and Sacha. How you doing, gentlemen?
All good here?
Doing good.
Good. I've missed talking to you guys. I've missed talking movies. Obviously, I've been dropping a little bit in on the WhatsApp group and stuff like that. But, oh my God, what a summer it's been for movie news and stuff like that. There's so many movies I haven't even seen. I've just been trying to catch up on a few. The one I haven't seen is Maverick yet. I know you guys have been going on about that. So I know, Sacha, I know you've seen it like 20 times, but I was like, yeah, I still haven't seen it yet.
I've seen it again. I've seen it again.
Yeah. Now that we've kind of moved house properly and stuff, and we're a little bit more settled, I can get back to the cinema. I need to see if Maverick is still showing anywhere locally, which I can do. If not, I have got a version of it to watch, but I just kind of wanted to watch it on the big screen. But I've caught up on all my sort of like Marvel. So I caught up on Thor and, She-Hulk and Miss Marvel and all that kind of stuff. Better Call Saul, have to mention that. All my days, what a season of finale that was. But I think the one thing that I said we have to kind of talk about when I come back is just the DCEU. Like, shit went down over the last few months. Oh my God. It has been absolutely mental. It seemed like just a joke. And it's just like that, it seems like, the British government were in charge of DC. It's that bad. Do you know what I mean? It's just like how can they be making so many mistakes and losing all this money and just like, what are they doing? So, yes, I was like, you know what? And it kind of comes full circle because our very first episode, back over a year ago, whatever it is now, was the extended universe. And we kind of talked then how we might fix the DCEU. We talked about Flashpoint and like recasting and leaving it. Now more than ever, we've got more information, more stuff that we need to talk about, and we need to do another fix. I was at Warner Brothers whilst I was away. I did the studio tour. I tried to get in to see some people. They would not let me in. I tried to apply for that job to try and sort their mess out at DC, but they weren't having it. So, okay, so I suppose what we should do is just cover the news to make sure I've got it all covered. We're all on the same page and know exactly what's happening. So obviously Warner Brothers got bought out by Discovery. So there's kind of all these changes that has happened. Warner Brothers obviously owns DC Comics and Movies. So one of the big decisions they first made was they axed the Batgirl movie, which was going to be a HBO exclusive. That was going to have obviously Batgirl is going to have Brendan Fraser in it as Firefly. Is it Firefly?
Yeah, Firefly.
Yeah, and also it's going to have Michael Keaton back as Batman. So that's been shelved. It's been cancelled. It's been fully cut, taken off the schedule. It's not happening. Apparently, it's been locked away in a vault somewhere because they want to claim the insurance money. Yeah, apparently it's been deleted, but. Yep. Interestingly, I have seen some stuff on TikTok from the actress who was playing Batgirl. What was her name? Leslie Grace. She's been teasing some stuff and some bits and pieces from the movie to see on TikTok and stuff like that. So there's some footage out there, but what we don't know. We're also going to get No, we won't get Supergirl in that movie. That's a different movie, right? So that happened, and then obviously we had everything happen with Ezra Miller. And the batshit crazy stuff that they were involved in, whether it's true or not. But I think it's definitely a movie that they invested too much money in, and it was too crucial to just can. So they're trying to just bide their time, and they've got Ezra to come out and kind of put out a statement and stuff like that, trying to smooth things over. Neil and I were chatting about that whilst I was away, and I was like, yeah, if it was me, I'd be putting a statement out saying, the allegations are unproven. He'll have his time to prove himself, like coming back to the Johnny Depp stuff, right? So Warner Brothers jumped the gun with Johnny Depp and said, yeah, we're washing our hands of him, cutting him out of our Fantastic Beasts movie and all this kind of stuff. But then it was shown that he was innocent, or whatever you believe about that, but he was proven not guilty. And then it comes back to this, don't jump the gun. He hasn't had his day in court and stuff like that, but maybe just take him out of the marketing, take him out of any interviews and stuff like that, unless you don't have him there, because you don't need him. If you've got all these other people in the movie, which we suggest, which is potentially Michael Keaton, we're supposed to have Supergirl in this movie as well, so there's lots of moving parts in that. Also, we're supposed to have Ben Affleck's Batman appear in that as well. But then we think, okay, they're going in one direction, taking Batfleck's out of the canon, but now he's shooting stuff for Aquaman 2, and he's appearing in that. And it's just like, okay, so where are you going with this now? It's been absolutely insane. We've had delays after delays. Blue Beetle is actually apparently still, that's still being released as a movie, and apparently it's going to be the longest theatrical release of any DC movie. It's just shorter than Zack Snyder's Justice League, at like 2 hours 45. So apparently it's a really long movie. I'm just like, wow, okay. Obviously we've got Black Adam coming out next month. We've got Shazam. We got the whole Amber Heard thing, whether she's going to be cut out of Aquaman. It seems like a goddamn mess. So first of all, I just want to go around and get everyone's thoughts on the stuff that's happened before we start saying this is what we should do next. So I don't think we can start anywhere but Neil. So Neil, tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling, bro.
What about everything that's going
everything
on?
That's happened. Yeah, everything that's happened with the DCEU.
That's it. Cocaine is one hell of a drug, because that's the only sentence that makes sense to me, is because it seems like everyone connected to the DCEU had the same supplier, the same stash, the same person delivered it in the same bag. They all took it from the same line, because between the Amber Heard stuff, between the Ezra Miller stuff, the madness of what's going on with what films should be released, what films got cancelled, what did you take apart, what are you keeping, changing all of these, it's erratic behavior, and nothing is more erratic than someone who's a drug addict, right? Someone who's just like, yeah, I got the best idea. We're gonna use Michael Keaton. Forget it. We're going to use Ben Affleck. Nope, we're going to use both. And like, you can just see it, and it's just like, yeah. I've watched enough documentaries about people who take drugs to say, yep, I can see what you're on. But no, it is absolute shambles. It is an absolute shambles, and you never think.
It sort of reminded me of Entourage. The exaggeration of things, like things falling apart. Like it literally like an episode of Entourage, in the sense that, boom, one episode in,
it felt like a season of Entourage.
Yeah, exactly. It was like made up completely. Like every 2 days you hear something really stupid.
You just want Jeremy Piven to just shut up.
You really needed Ari Gold to just roll up into them offices with a paintball gun and just handle it.
One thing should be added, that they had a whole docket of TV shows that when Discovery came in, they decided to cancel all of them that were in production or about to be produced. Like none of them that were running, the ones that were about to come out. So all of that's gone too. And that's the only shit that DC actually has going for it. Because the TV shows are good, movies all suck.
Agree to disagree on that one.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. I'm exaggerating myself, but there's like one or two. That's it.
Yeah.
So, Sacha, what's your thoughts on the DCEU at the moment?
I told you, bitches. I told you. All right, just
Go on.
like literally straight up reboot. I said it from day one. I said the Flash movie would be. I said this. Remember, last time we talked about the Flash on this thing, I said this is the beginning of the end. I said that. I said I don't believe this movie's ever going to get made. Okay, and just when it was about to, all of this stuff happened. This is what I would do with the Flash personally. I would can it. I'd actually can it, completely can it. I don't care. Just can it. Recast him. Do an origin story. Bring back. What's his name? John Farmiyama, the guy that was originally supposed to direct it. The first
Fabiuka.
Yes, that guy. The guy that's basically doing a lot of Mandalorian. He's done some of the best episodes of the Mandalorian. He did a great indie film called Dope. He was the first director hired for the Flash, or maybe the second director hired for the Flash. He went on Comic-Con. He wanted to do an origin story. He had the passion for the character. He knew his comic books. He was a big fan, and he said, "Look, the two things I'm a fan of is the Flash and Star Wars. I can't never do a Star Wars thing, but you know what? I'm going to do the Flash." And you know what? Lo and behold, he got canned from the Flash because Warner Brothers were going in a different direction. And you know what? He got his other dream. And you know what? That guy's doing good. Okay, because I love all of his episodes on Mandalorian. Okay, all of them. And I think he did one of the ones in Book of Boba, which was one of the Mandalorian ones as well. I do believe, not the Bryce Howard one. She did the first one. He did the second one. So you know what? They need to get him back. They need to do his origin story. Done. That's what I do with the Flash. Just can that movie. It's a train wreck. I know what happens in that movie. Okay, no, I'm very tempted to go deep dive and tell you exactly what happens in it because we're not getting that version no more. But you know, we'll save that for another creative control. So, but yeah, honestly, DCEU, if you get rid of the Flash movie, just completely can it. Individual movies for each of the characters. This is our phase 2. And our end game is what we were promised on Zack Snyder's Justice League. Okay? That's what I would do with the whole DCEU, the Flash, everything. Just Zack Snyder's Justice League Part 2. Okay? All doors towards it. I'd concentrate on Man of Steel 2, a Ben Affleck Batman movie, and whatever. In terms of the other Batman movie, let him have his trilogy. He made monies. You know what I mean? That shit made monies. People liked it. They've already said that, you know, they're open to multiple interpretations. Cool. And people want that Michael Keaton itch. Well, you know what? That is my truth right there. Seriously, even your boards are giving me
technical problem.
The universe was like, nah.
Yeah. Give me my Michael Keaton Batman, please. It's good Batman as well. But you know what? Like, just give me it all. You know what I mean? But have a plan. You know what I mean? Have a plan, individual movies, or here's my other idea: reboot the whole shit because your shit ain't working. You know what I mean? Everything. I'm not afraid to pull that thing because it was fucked up before. Now it's super fucked. Like super fucked. And certain films ain't out yet. If that movie had come out where it was, Ezra Miller's done. He's done. You know what I mean? Even if that movie does come out, it's a flop. You know what I mean? It's not a hit, it's a flop. So but that's me. I'm out.
Okay.
Stuff to do.
Yeah, maybe people will go.
You guys
see what it is, what it's like.
I'm gone. Laters.
All right. Thanks a lot, Sacha.
He's gone in the Flash.
Sacha's literally done a Flash and he's gone. So thank you for joining us, Sacha. I appreciate that. Sacha's actually out in the States right now, so it's a time difference thing, but he's got some stuff to do this afternoon. Sorry for the interruption there. I've got my office falling all around my ears. I haven't got a permanent setup as an office yet. So, right. Sal, what's your thoughts on the DCU, where it is currently?
I think there's a sense of panic because they want to salvage stuff, right? And they need to take a break. I mean, there's so much going on in the news that they can't control. No matter what happens with this kid, they can't control it. No matter what you do, they're trying to salvage it, trying to put out statements, trying to get him to go to rehab. At least that's what they say in the statements. But there's panic, and the new leaders time to take control of this massive company. It's not a small company. And Discovery is a juggernaut. They own everything that is not owned by Disney or Comcast. They're the third biggest one.
Yeah.
And they have their own streaming services. That's the reason why he's trying to kill off HBO Max. And the reason why he's cut all the TV shows that were meant to be in production, or at least about to come out, and it's canceled all of them because he wants theatrical releases for DC. So I think they need a couple of years of, a breather. I would dump this movie. I'm not sure how much they can salvage this. I mean, write it off like they've done with the Batgirl, and restart the whole process again. But they need time to think, need time to strategize from the marketing perspective, story perspective, the people that they need for writing, directing, production, actors, everything. Because right now, I mean, they're losing actors on a daily basis because one's robbing somebody, one's doing something. I mean, it is an unfortunate thing. I mean, the reason why I worked for MCU is because other than Robert Downey Jr., by the way, who was on the comeback, because he was also, constantly doing cocaine and just, swinging his pistol around. Everybody was on the up, like new and upcoming. The brand was bigger than the actors, and they kept it that way. And the what I call Warner Brother guys try to do the old school style to push the guys' names in. That's what bringing Affleck, bringing in what's the old Batman. I mean, everybody, the names were coming back, and they were trying to use the names to sell it. They got to use the story to sell it, and that is the biggest issue they have.
The story and the character.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Lee, where do you see the DCEU at the moment?
It's just disappointing, really. I think obviously the MCU has killed the DCEU. Really, I think they obviously were trying to play catch up. I mean, obviously, I don't know what's going on in the backgrounds. Warner Brothers is a business, so I don't know the MCU whether it was obviously just all seemed well structured and planned in the background. They were dedicated to Marvel, and Warner Brothers don't seem to have that for the DCEU. They need to have their Kevin Feige. They need to have their, a team dedicated to this for it to work. And obviously they obviously didn't realize that the MCU was going to take off like it has. And they're just playing catch up, and they've tried to do something which just clearly hasn't worked. They brought out a few, individual films. Like back in the day, obviously Batman Returns, they were decent films. And then the recent ones, I guess, Joker, even though Joker, I guess, it didn't have to have been the Joker, but, it comes under that label, and, that was decent. And Shazam, Wonder Woman. So they have had but I don't know, it just like say it changes hands and then goes in different directions, and there's no one sort of just seems to be overseeing it, I think. So with regards to the Flash film, I would say, I know what the other guys are saying, but I would say, well, if something costs them money, I would just release it and see what happens. I think if the Flash movie did get released, would you go and see it?
Oh yeah,
probably.
Of course.
Yeah.
So so I would go and see it. So they could get some money back from that, because if they shelved 2 movies, that was it's cost them a fortune to do that. But like I said, I think maybe a break, regroup, maybe like say get a team together, that are heavily invested in the DCEU, and then however they want to do it, whether they want to do it like Marvel or do something completely different. But it definitely is some thinking.
I think that here are a few of my thoughts on where it's at and what they should have done. So I think if they weren't planning on continuing Zack Snyder's vision for the Justice League and having Cavill back and all that kind of stuff, they should never have released the Snyder Cut. So that was their biggest mistake if they weren't going to follow that through, because what it showed us is what we could have had. And, I personally really enjoyed the Snyder Cut, and I loved where he was taking that, and the possibilities for the next couple of films was immense. It could have been epic. So if you're not going to deliver that to me, all I am now is just disappointed, you know. So I understand that there was the demand for it, but if you're not going to see that through, don't just release it on a whim because to get your HBO Max numbers up and stuff like that, because it's not like it did a theatrical release and stuff like that. They pumped a lot of money into that. Then obviously, you know, canceling Batgirl. Now, you know, I don't know whether it's a quality issue, you know, in terms of, you know, what type of movie it was, or whether it was a story issue or actor issues, because from obviously everyone who's worked on it, they're obviously really proud of it. You'd understand watching it on HBO Max, it has a limited budget. It is like a TV movie. But maybe they felt if that was going to be then the first way we saw Keaton coming back, maybe it didn't look right, maybe it didn't feel right, maybe it wasn't the right thing to do. It's hard to say, you know, because we haven't really seen it. We've seen a few little clips and stuff like that. But, you know, it was a finished production. And I think that's the crazy part. It's not like they were halfway through. It's not like they had to go and do a load of reshoots. You know, could they have done some reshoots and saved it? Who knows? But to me, that was a really strange decision.
That's a big decision.
So for me, it must have been the quality rather than the story, because they actually don't seem to have a direction in terms of story. Then obviously all the movies got delayed, and then you got the issue with Ezra Miller. Now, yes, he's been accused of some crazy stuff. Is it any worse than some other actors? Not necessarily. You know, they didn't cancel Death on the Nile because of
Armie Hammer.
Armie Hammer and stuff like that. You know, it's a case of controversy also attracts attention, and that can actually help your box office numbers. So, you know, as long as nobody has died and nobody has been severely assaulted and stuff like that, you can potentially move through this with the right kind of PR. And he doesn't have to be there. Now, I think the other issue is about recasting him. You can't just recast him in that movie because he plays two versions of himself. And so there's a lot there to kind of go back and fix. But from what I've heard of what the Flash's storyline is, I'm more surprised that isn't a movie that's been cancelled, depending on the route they want to take. So, spoilers here for the Flash movie. What I've heard is that basically the Flashpoint is obviously Flashpoint, so it's alternate universe. And basically in this alternate timeline, Superman is killed as a baby and never gets to Earth. But Supergirl does, and that's why you have Supergirl in this movie. She becomes the main super for the franchise and moving forward.
Yeah, she takes the role of Superman.
So that answers the question why Cavill's not come back. There's rumors consistently that he's coming back. They want him to come back, do Man of Steel 2 or whatever. But unless they change that narrative in The Flash, you know, if they've set The Flash up to continue without him, you can't then go back and change that movie just for him. There seems to be too many parts here. Then obviously Ben Affleck came back to do Batman, to play his role as Batman again in The Flash. And I think we're either going to see, I don't know if they were going to see him together or whether it was going to be a little bit like Flashpoint movie where it's the father and son, but this time it's just two different versions. And they're both like father figures to the Flash, because that's kind of the role that he's taken in this kind of universe. He's like father figure to Flash, pretty much like Iron Man and Spider-Man, you know? So, you know, I think it was supposed to be more of a handing over the baton to say, right, I'm out. And now Keaton's going to be your Batman moving forward as the older Batman. And maybe they could have brought in a younger Batman as like a Batman Beyond type thing down the road. But now that he is filming stuff for Aquaman 2, it's like, well, hold on, because Aquaman is coming after The Flash. So is this supposed to be set before? Because you're going to confuse the audiences majorly if if Batfleck is kind of written out of it and then he's back in Aquaman 2, because then where does Keaton fit in? Or are we saying that this Flash is now in a completely different universe and he's staying there? You know, there's so many unanswered questions, and just not a lot of it makes sense. I don't know whether Ben Affleck was coming back as Batman in Aquaman 2 or just appearing as Bruce Wayne, because the pictures we saw of him on set, he's in a suit. So to me, he's playing Bruce Wayne. He's not necessarily in the suit. So is it just that they come across each other's paths and he doesn't recognize him, like because of Flashpoint and it's been reset? There's loads of unanswered questions. So I think that these two movies, The Flash and Aquaman, actually have too much money potential as a business to cancel. So if I had creative control, I would say release The Flash, okay? Do it. If you're going to kill off Superman, do it. Piss people off. Confirm Cavill's not coming back, whatever it is you're going to do. Fulfill that. Release Aquaman. But then potentially what I would do is have a post-credit scene in Aquaman, which pretty much just wipes out the DCEU and just brings it to some kind of close.
Just have the anyone turn up and be like, nah, click.
Yeah, so I would have a post-credit scene of Flash meeting Aquaman, and something's happened there, and he's gone to see him, and then you have the Aquaman 2 movie, and then it meets the same point at the end of Aquaman 2, and you get your complete reset. And at that point, it's just like that's the end of the DCU as we've known it up until this point. What you do then has to be a complete reset, as in you reintroduce. If you want to recast people, you can recast them. So Aquaman's had his, say for instance, Aquaman's had his origin movie. Yeah, you could have Jason Momoa back as that, but it is a completely new timeline, a new version of him. So each of these people would have to be new versions. I would love to see Cavill back and stuff like that. Affleck, at the age he is, I don't know if it's the right thing. So for me, I would actually do a complete reset, recast all of them, and release a new film in a couple of years' time. That's what I would do. As much as I want to see certain characters carry on with their roles, Wonder Woman 84 left a sour taste in my mouth. And it's like, you know what? Actually, I don't need to see her as Wonder Woman anymore. I'm kind of done with that. Jason Momoa, he's fun. He'll have his second movie. That was $1 billion film. He can make his money in the second one. We're done with him. Affleck, he's going to have a couple of cameos in these movies. He gets to say his goodbyes and stuff like that. The only person who's really done dirty is Cavill, because he had the opportunity to be seen in Peacemaker, Shazam, all these little things, to thread through. Hasn't happened. Oh, Shazam! Yeah, we got to release Black Adam and Shazam because really they haven't really touched each other yet in terms of the continuity. Dwayne Johnson keeps threatening it, but I'm just like, no. If we want to bring his Black Adam later, potentially, because they haven't had that real proper crossover yet, and we recast everybody else, and he can have his fight with Superman and stuff like that. But that's kind of how I see it is from a business point of view. As a fan, I could just say, yeah, stop everything now, cancel it all. But it's like, what would be the point, in a sense? These movies are made, they're in the can. Just show them, get it out there, finish it, because we're never really going to be satisfied either way as fans by not seeing those things. Unless they just suddenly said, okay, we're scrapping Flash, we're scrapping Aquaman, we're scrapping all that, and Zack Snyder's coming back and just carrying on from where he left off. But that's not going to happen. So I'd be interested to see if that is an option that any of you would take, just to bring it right back to Zack Snyder and just, hit the reset from that point and carry on and can everything else, or what you would do. But yeah, I would really, as a businessman, I would release those two movies, do some shooting to reset the universe, recast everything and reboot it in a couple of years' time, and forget all this fucking mess ever happened. Because we started off on a real good thing with Man of Steel, but yeah, it's not going to end well. Anybody else? What are your thoughts on what you would do?
I have Sal, what would you do?
I was going to say I will dump them because they all are insured, and I'll just take the money out of the insurance. The thing is, I understand what you're saying about the Zack Snyder thing, but where I would differ from you is that the only thing I liked from Zack Snyder was that 4-hour movie. I didn't like the other ones. I wasn't a big fan of them.
I wasn't a fan of Batman versus Superman. I wasn't.
No, I hated that. I mean, I wasn't a fan of Man of Steel either. I mean, I liked the first 3 quarters of that film. The last quarter I did not like at all. And
so I'm
I
a
never
big Man of
watched
Steel
it.
fan. I love that movie.
I haven't watched it again, and I'm a massive Superman fan. And I had always had an issue is that fact that every time I watched his films, it felt that he first designed the storyboard and then filled it in with dialogue, rather than the other way around. and that never what I call settled with me, because it felt like he was just finding the right words to stitch one storyboard to another, and that's not how you write a story. I always had issues, dialogues, and that sort of thing, and that's not just DC stuff. It's almost everything. I mean, there are plenty of films that I've seen them once for the first time and enjoyed, but I can never see them again because I've never found the films that he's made to be easy to watch again. Because every time I watched it again, I felt very bored. And it's usually the funny lines, the great dialogues that kind of bring you back, not just an action scene. And unless they're retarded, like Fast and Furious, where they've overdone it because that's the style. That's it. The problem is, when it comes to the business point of view, a bad taste can last for a long time. So you have a bad film that you put out, that can... See, it wouldn't mess up just the DC stuff. It could fall into the other stuff that has nothing to do with DC. I mean, it's a big, big studio. And these guys are not just linked to the DC stuff. They have got other flicks coming out. It really depends on how much of their reputation they're willing to sacrifice in order to put out a film just to make some money back. It's another issue.
Well, the thing is, Warners don't have a lot of properties right now because the Harry Potter franchise is struggling because Fantastic Beasts, the last one, hasn't performed that well.
Oh, no, not at all.
If you think of the franchises, if you think of the franchises they have, they need a couple of big hits. They need to get some money back, and Discovery needs to get some money back.
No, but that's why it got sold off. But Discovery has to see. Discovery has got a big bank. It can wait to do certain things because it does not only make money from films and stuff. It makes money from subscriptions that are worldwide, like literally worldwide. I mean, they're literally everywhere. You go in the middle of the Eastern Bloc of Europe, and you see some English language shows going on with some guy shouting in Russian on the top of it. You can hear both of it. It was really funny, but that's
There's still no HBO Max in the UK.
No, and it's not going to come. And by the way, they're not planning to keep it that way because what they'll do is they will merge that into other channels that they have, because they are very good with their subscriptions, and they have. I mean, I'm a big car manic. They used to have this channel. What was it called? I was going to escape him because I'm talking about it. Anyway, it used to be in the back lot of the Freeview channels, right? And it showed like Fast and Furious Fast and Loud and a bunch of all these, fix-up car shows. And what they did was they slowly brought that into Freeview, what I call apps, and they slowly moved it into paid apps. And a lot of people went with them. They are very good when they're long-term business. And that's another thing about it. Think about it. All their TV shows, they don't really cost that much to make, but they make a lot of money off of them. And they're very good at that. And so when it comes to spending a lot of money, they really do think about it before they do. So that's what you can say about the reason why Discovery is. But I mean, if you think about all your Dave channels that you have here, they're owned by BBC. And they've done the same model that Discovery has done. Buying all the backlog channels that show repeats of all the other TV shows again and again and again and again. And that's where you make the money. Small amount of money, but because there's so many repetitive, so much commercial coming in through, you make a lot of money. And I think because of these guys have patience, they will take time and they make that thing. And they might release it. I mean, they've got so many channels, they might release it one of them. But I'm not sure they may do it right away because they're just, brand new owners. The last thing you want is a bomb, which you just recently released, and it's a big flick, it's a big budget, and it bombs. It's not something. Reputation is goes a long way as well, and everybody's involved.
I think
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, but I think word of mouth of the test screenings of the Flash are really positive. Yeah. So I think that is why they are keen to release it, because I do think they believe there's bank in that film. I was very excited to see Kenan come back and stuff like that. And even if it is just for that movie and stuff like that, they redid the Batcave. They got the old Batmobile back, all that kind of stuff. And we live in an age of nostalgia. At the end of the day, we 40 to 50-year-olds are the ones going out spending money on these movies and merchandise and everything. So I think based on that, I think that is why there's money to be made here, and if the movie cost them 250 million, but they can make $1 billion back at the box office, it's like, is it worth the risk? And that's where it comes back to, like you're saying, if it's a bad movie, which I think they thought Batgirl was, it's like they think, you know what, I don't think this is right. Let's scrap that, but we're going to move forward with this. Maybe.
Actually, I just thought of something which I should have considered, and I didn't even think about it. Discovery is also a worldwide media, so in other words, they may be looking at that how much damage this movie can do in the United States compared to everybody else. Because, like let's say, if they sell in China and nobody gives a shit what Ezra Miller's doing, right? They could probably sell it and do pretty well. So, that could be a good business to just release it late in America, just release it everywhere else first, which has been done before, and make your buck there, sell it, make the reviews go up, tell everybody, say it's doing good, it's doing good. Why don't you come and have a look? That could work, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
See, I was gonna say that in regards to Batgirl, the general consensus that I got from like really researching, listening to people who'd been at test screenings and their reviews, the general consensus, majority of people who spoke about it all generally said the same thing, which was it felt like a really long pilot for a CW show. Yeah. And I mean, essentially that's what it was set to be. Well, it wasn't set to be a CW TV show, but it was set to be, we're making this film specifically for HBO Max. This is not made to go into cinemas. So,
and the budget reflected
so the budget reflected it. I mean, for lack of a better term, you could say like the film was what they paid for. They paid for a streaming movie, right?
And the streaming movies, by the way, their budgets nowadays are like 20 million or 40 million as well. I mean, I was watching Kevin Smith talking about this particular thing that he's worked on for DC that's been scrapped, and he got paid for it. But he was saying that the budget for every episode was like $6 million, and he was laughing. He was like, "Seriously, you guys spending $6 million on one?" He goes like, "We're spending $6 million the one you're making. Other ones were spending 14 to 20 million." And he's like, "Oh right, shit, I should have asked for more money." One thing I would add is the only thing I've seen about Batgirl is the interview with Brendan Fraser. And I just knocked my earphones out of my ear. I'm not sure if you guys heard that. Anyway.
Yeah, we had you.
Oh, damn. Sorry. Anyway, so the only thing I heard is about him talking about it. And what he said initially was movies only was made for streaming services. The movie was made for a small screen. He did not say the movie was good. But he sort of avoided that, and he said the girl who's playing Batgirl, she's great. Everything else, he basically tried to justify the film that it was just made for a streaming service and a small screen. So it's not that big the way you want it. So that tells me that it wasn't that great either. But he was also trying to promote his movie the way also,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I think, in regards to Batgirl specifically, it's like you made a movie, you made a streaming movie, right? You didn't even make a big budget streaming movie, because we're not talking like what Netflix threw at The Irishman or what they threw at Underground 6, right? Or what they threw at Red Notice. Like these were big budget movies that were made by a streaming service versus Batgirl, which was a big budget studio making a streaming service movie. So with that, and I felt like the technicalities of the fact that it wasn't supposed to go into cinemas is probably why they were like, okay, we just need a tax write-off, so let's cut it. Right? It was. I don't think they cared. I generally don't think they get that the new owners of the new overlords of Warner Brothers, they probably did not give a shit about how good or bad the film was, because they were like, this wasn't going in cinemas. So regardless of how good or bad it was, it's not gonna make money. It's not gonna provide enough revenue versus if we can it and the tax write-off, the revenue we're guaranteed to get from it. Because you think about it, if they dropped Batgirl, if they put it out and they were like, yep, it's coming out on October 1st. Anyone who doesn't have HBO Max, automatically, maybe they sign up and get a HBO Max, they'll watch it during their free trial.
Yeah.
And then it's done. Anyone who's already got HBO Max, you're not paying extra for it. It's already there. It's already in your price plan. So it's not going to generate enough revenue.
Wasn't it part of the pay-per-view with a co-model and HBO Max? Because a lot of the other flicks came in as a pay-per-view.
Yeah, but those ones were films that were supposed to go into the cinema, and they did the day-and-day release.
Okay.
Batgirl was just coming out solely on HBO Max, so that was a free release.
Yeah,
so I think it's more a thing of it wasn't billed to be a huge movie. It had just little markers of, oh, you'll like it for this. Oh, you'll like it for that. Oh, we've got, it'll have Michael Keaton and it'll have J.K. Simmons and it'll have Brandon Fraser, And I'm like, okay, that'll make me watch it. Oh, it's Batgirl. That'll make me watch it. But they weren't invested in that film. So them cutting it is no loss. With The Flash, they absolutely invested. Absolutely was 100% all in with The Flash, which is why they're like still trying to salvage it, and they're still like, yep, it's still coming out.
Well, there's a lot of money.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it got delayed again. I think it's due for March, but they'll still keep tinkering because, again, a lot of it will depend on how, say, Black Adam performs. Now, because there's rumors that like Henry Cavill appears in Black Adam at the end, maybe even a post-credit scene. There's rumors that there's one or two Justice League characters in that movie. So, depending on what we see there, may obviously influence what happens moving forward. Because if that movie is well received and people are hyped for Cavill coming back, maybe they might rethink it. But at this point, can they rewrite the Superman, Supergirl stuff out of Flash? There's so many things that are just like you just don't know, and it's just so it's just a case of that's probably why they are they're not really coming out and committing to anything. I think they're just waiting film on film now for that reaction. So once they get this done, Black Adam out of the way, maybe at that point they may say, okay, we'll move in this direction. But maybe that's another reason they haven't filled this role yet. Who wouldn't want to take control of the DCEU? Surely someone out there is like, give me that thing and I'll run with it. But maybe they're like, no, this, and this needs to be released, and they're like, that don't make no sense. Fuck that. I don't want to touch it. So it could be it'd be almost a poison chalice at this point, even though they're not involved in it. They're because decisions have been made prior to them joining. They might just be looking at it thinking, I don't even know where to go with this. So,
question: after the Discovery has taken over what I call Warner Brothers, have they announced any film, any new project?
What, as in one that is currently in development?
Joker 2. Joker 2.
No, not that's currently in production. But was it already in production prior?
No, it wasn't. It was in pre-production. It'd been greenlit.
It was in pre-production, and then it was greenlit. Which, because obviously that's its own entity, and obviously Lady Gaga's in it. Yeah, she's going to be Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And apparently it's going to be a musical because it's going to be from Harley Quinn's point of view, which is
sad for DC.
It's going to be a musical, but yeah.
See,
Lee, what are your thoughts?
It is unfortunate for DC that every film that is a standalone has done well, and not that other one. Sorry, Lee, go on.
Yeah. No. I'm enjoying listening to all your thoughts on it. To be fair, that's going deep. No, to be honest with you, it's so difficult because it's all at different stages. It's like I enjoyed Man of Steel. The only thing that sort of I felt a little bit. I mean, I'm a big fan of the fight scene in Superman 2, Christopher Reeve and Zod. That's just an awesome fight scene. I love that scene. And I just thought at the end of Man of Steel, it was just crazy. Like they were just throwing each other through like buildings, the strength and the force of it. I just thought
Dragon Ball Z.
It's just mental. You can understand, get like strength and that, but they just literally just wiped out the whole city. It was just crazy.
Yeah, but I was also chucking. Nobody punching. I mean, I would have happy if they would have punching each other. but they're just throwing each other.
Apparently, if my memory serves me right, Zod is supposed to come back in the Flash movie.
Oh, is he? All right.
Apparently he might. Yeah, apparently he might be the big bad. So.
But it just seemed rushed, really, because, like you say, Zod come down the first film, then he takes him out, and again, it's a bit like the whole Carnage thing with that. It's like Zod's a huge character, comes in, and then he's gone, and it's like, where'd you go with that? It's just so rushed. They weren't playing they don't play the long game, that's what it is.
That's what happens when you play catch up, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. You're just trying to rush it. And it's like, Justice League came out. It's, it took years for the Avengers. And then, like, Justice League's, like, straight out within, like, 2 years. It's like, well, who are all these guys? It's, so it's difficult because you kind of want to reboot it. But like you say, you got Black Adam coming out. So where does that fit into it? So it's, it's just all over the place. I don't know what the answer is, to be fair. I mean, like you say, you could, if Black Adam does well, I guess you could sort of put that on hold and then start another, or use the, like you say, the multiverse, because the MCU are doing that now, aren't they? They're using the multiverse to bring characters back, to get rid of characters, and that's probably the way that's the only way they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it wasn't The Rock, Black Adam would probably be pushed back.
Yeah,
because. For me, depending how closely it could link in to the current version of the Justice League and what we have in the DCEU, that could be part of the reboot. It's like if we could have just saved this movie. So that's why I do think part of this movie does include maybe some of the current characters, because otherwise I'd be going to Rock, look, we actually want you to start off the new DCEU. Let's put the Flash out. Let's put Aquaman out. Let's bank this movie. Let all that happen. Let's do a reset, and you could be the first movie of the new wave. But Rock's not hanging around for that, because obviously his production company's involved, like $7 production and stuff like that. He wants this movie out. He's got money that's resting in this and stuff like that. So but I think because of the way it does probably tie into the current universe, that's why it's coming out. But if I could have, I probably would have saved that movie and let it ride, because again, how much is it going to link into Shazam 2? Because the first script of the first Shazam movie had Shazam and Black Adam. And then the Rock's like, nah, I don't want to share it. Black Adam needs his own origin story, effectively. So they split it. So now you got two. So is the third movie supposed to be them together? It does Shazam appear at the end of this, and that sets up the next movie. There's a lot to play with there. But yeah, it's so okay. So ultimately, would you guys do a? Okay, how many of you would actually just cancel everything now? So I think the three options are: you kind of cancel it and say, "Look, no, we're done. We fucked up. We're going to reboot everything." You do a soft, reboot where you release these certain movies and get to a point where you can do a soft reboot with Flashpoint and just say, "Right, we're going to bring some people back and other people back." What do you guys see as like the best route to go?
I think, like you said, as a fan, you would say, yeah, just draw a line and say, right, whether you release the films that you've got now, like you say, Black Adam, and you say, right, that's what we're releasing, and that's the old universe, and then you draw a line and say, right, we are starting afresh, and you go through the whole process of origins, different characters, and then, like you say, you either work it as the MCU have done, or maybe do something a bit different, but yeah, I think that's what I would do. Release what you've got, and then say, right, like you say, new companies bought them out now. Get somebody in and say, right, no, we want to start again and have a whole team on it and do it properly.
Just call it the 313 universe or something. So, right, we're coming to the end of the 313 universe. That's going to be it now. We're going to be revisiting these characters in our 616 universe or whatever it is. I don't know the numbers for the DC universes, but just just say, right, that's its own thing. Yeah, that's its own thing. Now we're going to just start again, and we're going to recast everyone. Neil, what would you do?
I would release everything that is due to be released, regardless of how good or bad it is, and then I would just exactly that. I would just announce. I'll say, look, look, under the old regime, mistakes were made. some people were trusted that shouldn't have been. Some people weren't trusted who should have been. But look, you know, you if you don't make mistakes, you don't grow, you don't learn. So we are going to. We've learned from those mistakes, and we are going to start fresh. And
okay,
I mean, shit. I like when we first agreed to do this podcast. I think I sent you guys the list, right? I had like 17 movies in a row lined up of exactly what I would do. Right? I was not playing games with it. Because
I tell you what we'll do is go on now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, because granted, I am not a film exec. I do not know, you know, the ins and outs of fully, you know, investing 200 million into one film, but I think I'm a pretty good storyteller, and I have access to millions of comic books. So I would just be like, look, man, it ain't that hard to make one cohesive line and say this, right? And then have a
look at that animated series.
Huh? It's
look at the animated series, you know?
Exactly. It's really not that hard.
It's there. You could have lifted it panel for panel. So yeah, as a studio, as CEO or studio head, I'd slightly rephrase what you said. So I'll be like, right. So, you know, we had a vision for the Justice League. You know, Zack Snyder had his vision. We had other individual directors come on who each had their vision of what they want to do with their characters. And that is being now known as the 101 universe. What we have now is we're going to have a new vision for these characters. We want somebody to come in who has a complete vision over the whole of these characters, the whole of the story arc, who is going to guide each character in each movie through the individual movies till we get an ultimate team up with the Justice League. And that is our new vision. And that's the direction we're going to go in. And that's going to be Universe 919 or whatever it is. So it's just about tailoring and understanding to people. Don't admit your mistakes. Just say the vision's changed. Do you know what I mean? It's just like you never admit to your mistakes as a CEO. it's just like no, that you know that happened, but now this is going to happen, and I think that is a way to go. And I think what we'll do on a future podcast is we will recast the DCEU. We will recast each of the characters and say, right, in what order would you release these movies? Who do you go with first? Which character do you tackle first? Do you do an origin story? Do you just pick up from, you know, they are who they are kind of thing? So we'll do a whole episode on that because I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to upset a bunch of people with my casting choices. I'm saying that now.
That's the beauty of the multiverse, bro. If it doesn't work, chuck them out. But yeah, saying that, you know, in terms of their other projects they got going on, you know, Matt Reeves' Batman, let that be its own thing. You know, when I don't want that to be now introduce Superman and try and introduce that needs to be its thing. That is its own universe. Let it, you know, create its own characters and be its own thing. The Joker, let that be its own thing. That doesn't cross over with Matt Reeves' thing. I like the Joker as the Joker movie, but for me, it was unnecessary and I didn't like it as a Joker movie. If it was just like a crazy serial killer movie who went through that process, fine, but it had, you know, it was the Joker. So I don't get the hype around it with like a lot of other people saying it's incredible and stuff like that. I thought it was good, but it didn't move me in the same way kind of thing, you know. So same way as, you know,
read too many comic books. You read too many comic books for you to sit there and watch Joker and be like, oh, this is a masterpiece. No, your history is too deep.
I don't need an origin story
for your ears.
Yeah, and apparently they've just announced in the comics, like in Kenan.
Yeah, they announced his real name. Bro, yeah, I don't need to know. Exactly. I don't want to know it. I'm content never knowing wherever that is.
No, exactly. It's the whole. You need some mystique. You know, not everything needs an origin story. Not everything needs to be pointed how this person got to here. You know, it's just yeah. But that's how I feel. But anyway, okay. So, any final thoughts on the DCU at this time, gentlemen?
Yeah, just release what you got and make the money you're gonna make, and just be done with it. I mean, the Flash. I genuinely have I have a lot of faith in the Flash, regardless of. I mean, as long as Ezra Miller don't kill nobody between now and the film coming out, right? I have faith because the director Andy Machete, if I may have mispronounced your name, sir, but what he did with It chapters 1 and 2, and the fact that he's a fan of the Flash, I'm like, look, I got faith in you. You do your job. You just keep doing what you're doing. You know, he's the person that you just like. You give them the assignment and you let them go. You don't need to worry. They don't need to check in with you and be like, oh, you know, this is going okay. Like, it's fine. So we're like, release that. With Batgirl, I mean, obviously the agreement has already been signed. We're never going to see it, but I think it was a misstep to just outright delete the film from existence because I'll be blunt, it's gonna come out, right? You may never see the film as in see it visually, but like there are people out there in the world who have the script, right? Because they worked on the film or they were in it.
The amount of production people on that film.
Yeah. If one of them just says, you know what? Let me just Xerox this thing and then just let the world have it. Bam. Then, you know, it's that because what they've done is they've basically created another Snyder Cut. Because now, regardless of how good or bad the film is, anybody who had any level of investment really wants to see that film. I was like, I'll see it eventually. As soon as they canceled it, I want to see that film. Somebody make it happen. So it's a missed opportunity because, you know, Peacemaker season 2 has already been greenlit. So it's not like they're killing off the world, right? You have you working in the comic book realms. You have time travel, you have multiverse. Everything that you've had that's ever come out exists in a multiverse place somewhere. You don't need to cancel it. You don't need to delete it. You wanted to save your money, so business decisions are what they are. But you could have just put that film out, and if people were like, oh, it's shit, then you have the excuse of saying, well, you know what? It was made for HBO Max. It wasn't made to come out in the cinema. It wasn't made for you to sit in a cinema screen with 3D glasses on and be like, wow. It was made for you to see this on a Sunday afternoon, you know, click it on. Oh, let's just watch it so I can talk about it at work or at school or at college or wherever, right? That's what it was made for. If you didn't like it, meh.
I have a feeling Warner Brothers are going into salvage mode. So I think that they are going to try and keep the universe as it is with kind of a gentle reboot in the sense of I think they are going to try and bring Cavill back. I wouldn't be surprised if he appears in The Flash. I think they will reshoot and try and bring him back in if that movie did kill him off or whatever it is. I think they want to try and bring him back. I think they want to bring Affleck back, and that's why they want to keep him in Aquaman 2, because apparently, like in The Flash, he was going to kind of get lost in time. Obviously, he's going to find himself again. So I think they are actually going to try and do this, because I think they're going to still move ahead with Wonder Woman 3. Patty Jenkins, by all means, can direct, but she should not be writing that movie. But I think they are going to build enough that if Black Adam and Shazam and The Flash does well enough, that they've got enough to continue it. And just say, you know, what's happened, and then we'll get Man of Steel 2, you know, Flash 2, you know, maybe a solo Batman movie. But I feel they're going to do enough with enough post-credit scenes and enough after filming in the next 3 to 6 months to have something available at the end of Aquaman 2 if they want to move ahead with it. Then if they don't, depending on reception. So, and that's not a bad way to go, to be honest, you know, where they currently are. You know, it's like if you can get yourself into a position where fans are okay with those movies and they accept all these characters, because a lot of people did like, let's say, Zack Snyder's Justice League, and, you know, you can take it off. If you can get to a point where you're happy with those characters and everyone's back in their casting positions and carry on going, it's not the end of the world, because it's just what's happened has happened. So
you just feel sorry for the actors, don't you, really? Because, you know,
I particularly feel for Cavill, because he loved that role, and I thought he was fantastic in it, and he deserves so much better. You know, I know Affleck got I feel like kind of got dismayed with the whole thing because of the way the Justice League went and Joss Whedon and all that kind of stuff. So no wonder, because he wanted to do a Batman movie. He was going to write, direct, star, everything. And then he was just like, after that experience, I don't want it anymore. So the fact that he has come back and done The Flash, he has come back and done some stuff for Aquaman, means he liked the cast he was working with. He liked some of the people. And if enough people are giving him the confidence now to say, look, we kind of know where we want to get to. It's going to be a really tricky 18 months to get there, but we want you on board for something in the future. It seems like he's bought into that. So, and Aquaman, Jason Momoa, he's like, I'll keep playing it as long as they want me to. So he's good. The tricky one is probably the Flash, Ezra Miller. Whether they can continue with that, or again, do they shoot a post-credit scene where we get a new Flash come in? Does Grant Gustin come in as the new Flash of the DCEU? Because hey, time travel, multiverses, you can swap him in and out with anybody.
I'm just going to point out one clear thing, right? Barry Allen is not the first Flash.
No,
he's not.
Warner Brothers,
Flash, absolutely.
Get your head out of your batty crease. Listen, Wally West is a Flash, right? Oh, Ezra Miller's giving you problems? No problem, sir. Look, you have him run into a lightning storm. Oh, he falls into the time stream or the Speed Force. Another dude comes out. Who are you? You're not Barry Allen. No, my name's Wally West.
That's it. Done.
Yeah.
Done. That is exactly it. That's exactly it. Okay, it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. It's good to be back. So we're going to try and get some more episodes out to you guys. So look, if you're listening to this episode, thank you very much for coming back. If you're new to us, please make sure you check out all of our stuff. We are everywhere. So you can catch a video on YouTube. So if you want to see our gorgeous faces as we talk about all of this stuff. But if you just want the audio version, so you can speed it up 5 times and get through it, then you can get us on Spotify, iTunes, Good Pods, basically anywhere that does a podcast, we are there. So, but please like, share, and subscribe. We really appreciate your support. You can follow me on Twitter at Kenan Talks Film, or you can find me at Creative Control. You'll find me either way on Twitter, and I'll be posting movie news and updates and all that kind of stuff. Gentlemen, have you got anything you want to add? Any social media you want to share at all?
All good.
All good.
If you're vexed with anything I say, you can find me at mindyourdamnbusiness.com. or in reality, you can hit me up at Zanil Coppin on Instagram. That's my only social.
Cool. And thanks very much to Sacha for joining us. I had to leave earlier. Appreciate that. So, so I think the next thing for the DCU is we need to recast. We have to cast that reboot. So episode coming soon. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. Until next time, peace out.
Peace.